Today I really just wanted to talk to you guys about what it's like when you finally decide to stand strong in who you are unapologetically. And it's a really powerful thing. So this is an important topic, and it's something that I've gone through personally in my life. So we don't realize that we've sort of over years given up little tidbits of ourselves to our family members and the people around us who mean a lot to us and stuff. It just sort of comes naturally, especially as women. We have really strong feminine energies, which is the giver. We're givers, and that includes sometimes not being real true to who we are in order to please other people. So there's also something, I was born into a family where we were definitely taught, and I think this goes for a lot of different people, we were definitely taught to be people pleasers from a very young age. So, it's really common when you have little kids that people teach them to, respect your elders, all that stuff, but it can be taken a little bit to the extreme where your voice can't be heard as a kid because you are living under scrutiny or fear maybe, which was my case. So I had a very domineering stepdad who instilled a lot of fear in us, and so the consequences were dire if we stepped out of line. So we really walked on eggshells and watched what we did a lot, and that carried into adulthood. So I always was a people pleaser. I wanted people to like me. I was sort of known in my family as my grandma's favorite, which kind of put a little spin dynamic in my family, which made it even more that I wanted to live up to sort of what the expectations were of me. And when you're in that situation, you can get to where you're at a place in your life where the people around you aren't really even your tribe. You're surrounded by all these people maybe that you've known for your whole life or that have been in your life for years and years and years, but they're not really your vibe. They're doing, you might even have some similar hobbies and do some things together, but really when it comes down to it, you're not on the same vibe. So to me, what that means to me is that if you have different goals than they do, or you're striving for different things than they are, for example, if you're someone like I am, really a go-getter who's always wanting to grow and learn new things and whatever, being around people that are really extremely practical that aren't like that might hinder me. That might hold me back from sort of striving towards my goals and doing a lot of things. And also, when you're a people pleaser, it causes a dynamic where people feel that there's not a lot of boundaries, and so they feel that they are able to interject their opinions a lot onto what your life is. So when you're a people pleaser, you're sort of tend to ask other people their opinions on what you should do in your life a lot, or even just in conversation, they just feel that there's an opening there or that you need some guidance. And so they pop up and they're very involved, sometimes even very overly involved in your own situations. And I know that I got to a point in my life in my 30s where there weren't very many people that really got my vibe, where I really wanted that too. I needed to feel sort of seen and to feel validated in my life, and I didn't have that. I had a lot of people that, I was starting my business and they were like, what is she doing? Why is she throwing away all of this college that she has behind her and all this stuff to make less money and all this stuff? Because they just didn't understand, where my heart was at, because they weren't on that same path that I was on, which of course, but I mean, even close. They weren't even close to doing what I was doing. So that, because I had set up that dynamic, it made it extremely hard for me then to come back from it. So when I started saying, okay, it's important to me now that I start really standing true in who I am and doing the things that I love and all of that, there was way more opposition because I had spent so many years sort of hiding myself and keeping myself in check because I didn't want to upset anybody, or I didn't want to say the wrong thing or whatever, feeling very closed off to who I really was. And when I started opening that up, the people that were closest to me were the ones that were coming and saying that this wasn't who I was. They thought I was going through some midlife crisis, or that I was, being phony or whatever. And I was finally just who I always had been, but I was finally not afraid to show them anymore. So that the communication was all off on that. And so I guess that's sort of to be expected, but I'm hoping that you guys can sort of learn from my mistakes and set up your relationships a little bit differently. So if you catch it in enough time, you don't have to completely cut those people out of your life or whatever. You can start gradually setting boundaries and reshaping your communication with them and sort of relearning what your relationship roles are. In my situation, I had a lot of really long-term, like 20, 30-year relationships with people that they had only really known me to be pretty submissive and, pleasing to them. So anything that, when I stepped out of that and I started being more just myself and not really caring so much what they thought about my decisions, because I was so tired of keeping that hidden within myself, that it appeared selfish. It appeared like I was just ditching out on the people that I'd known my whole life, and that I was just not thinking about them and whatever. And it was that we had gotten it. I was so far gone in that regard that without entirely stepping out of that altogether and sort of cutting off, like severing some of those relationships, without doing that, it wasn't really even going to be possible for me to do the things I wanted to do, because it went so much against who they wanted me to be and what they thought that I should be doing. So when you have gone through your whole life with people, and then I also had some I guess abandonment issues with some people in my life, and so that even compounded it more, because I was so worried that these people weren't going to accept me for who I was and my own beliefs and my own desires and dreams. And which was, it was true. In some regards, it was true. Not everybody is going to follow you on your journey. There's definitely, and that's some of the hardest stuff, is when you have to really break ties with people that you have known for that many years, or that you've considered to be the closest people in your life, even if they weren't really super healthy relationships. It's still really, really hard, and it makes you second guess yourself. It makes you think, oh, maybe I am just crazy for wanting to do these things. And it takes an extreme amount of ambition and determination to do that once you're there. So it's totally possible, though. So the reason that I wanted to do this video today is because we really have to take responsibility for the dynamics in our own relationships and realize our part in those. So yes, somebody might be treating us poorly, but there's probably a reason that they feel they can do that to you. And it's not that you had a big billboard that said, hey, hey, pick on me, or hey, I love to be bullied, or anything like that. It's that over years, they've sort of learned where the boundaries were or weren't. And sometimes people cross those lines until you put a stop to it. So you can end up in an extremely unhealthy situation when it's been years and years and years. And this happens in relationships like marriages and spousal type relationships a lot, where you'll see someone gradually over the years sort of lose their identity a little bit. And sometimes it's okay. Sometimes they're just changing that way. And sometimes, if that's what they want and that's what makes them happy, then that's okay. But, sometimes we are just trying so hard to make it easier on ourselves, ultimately, because we come up against so much resistance in things. And so we start sort of letting things slip a little bit. And, oh, I won't go to that meeting this month, with my friends, because we have other things going on. And so then it turns into 2 months or 6 months or whatever. And before you know it, that's not a routine anymore of yours. And you've really gotten, sort of given away something that meant a lot to you, to the people that you love, but nonetheless, you've sort of lost a little bit of yourself in that. So, so when you are starting, the coolest thing is we kind of create our own tribe by putting out our vibe. So when you are authentic and you are, saying the things that you really feel unapologetic about, this is what I believe wholeheartedly, you attract those same type of people to you. So what happened with me is I went through this period where I hadn't found my new tribe yet. They were still out there kind of waiting for me or for either way, for us to find each other. And I was sort of getting away from a lot of the toxic relationships that I had in my life. So I went through a pretty lonely period where it would have been pretty easy for me to just dig my feet in where I was at and just not be who I am today. You know, I could have just stayed corporate job, soccer mom, you know, all of the things that everybody wanted, the way that they saw me that I should be. I could have done that, and it would have been less lonely for probably a year or two, you know. So you have to make it was definitely a decision that I made. I was, you know, stubborn in that I was going to be myself, no matter what that took, and it took a lot. So, you know, be prepared for that if you're someone like me who has sort of let your relationships dictate your life for a lot of years. Just be aware that that's something that's kind of challenging to come back from, but you can do it, and it takes a little bit of time. But what happens then, you're putting out your authenticity to the world, and you start getting those same type of people in your life. So now, you know, I can say that I have a lot of friends that I am really close to that are that I don't have to deal with all the drama that I used to have to deal with. There used to be all of this, you didn't call me when you were supposed to, you didn't, you know, all these like regulations that had been put on me that, you know, if I went and had fun, it was like I was going to be in trouble by somebody or, you know, something. And it's not like that anymore. Now it's everybody that I have really close to me loves life. They are doing their own stuff for the most part. They love the people in their life and what they're doing, and they want me ultimately to enjoy my life as well. And that's super important. All right, so I feel like I'm kind of rambling on the same subject. I just hope this really resonates with you guys because it's so important. The people you have around you determine everything in your life. So, you know, financially, spiritually, emotionally, how you are, how healthy you are in those ways has everything to do with the people that are around you. So we have to be really mindful of that, set clear boundaries with people. Know that selfish is just a term that people use to make you feel bad about what you want in life. So if that's, to me, that's ridiculous. Life is all about doing the things that we want to do in life. We can still be loving, caring, giving people and be happy. But some people see your happiness as a weakness almost, or a selfish act. When I started my business, that I definitely got that, you know, because I love what I do for a living. It's viewed a lot as not, Emmett, I can hear you. Go ahead. You know, it's just viewed as selfish, and that is absolutely, I want you guys to know that that's not the case. You are never selfish for wanting to be happy in your life. That's just something that people tell us. So, all right, you guys, love you so much. I'll be back here next week at 11:30. See you then. Have a good day.